Hi, welcome back to It's Whatever, right? I'm your host, Jen. If you are new to the show, please don't forget to subscribe. Also, I do have a Patreon account for where I post secret podcasts where nobody else gets to hear. Yes, on It's Whatever, right? I'm pretty vulgar here and pretty much speak my mind, but there's only so much you can let loose here. So basically, in my podcast on Patreon, it's just, even though there's no filter here, there's extra no filter there. So if you want to go check out my Patreon account later, obviously when you're done listening to this podcast, obviously, that would be amazing if you guys had supported my podcast channel here. Also on my podcast channel, um, well, basically in general, I do have I'm also a writer. I post all of my stuff on Vocal. That's a writing platform of where I have a whole bunch of stories. I haven't posted there in a little bit, but I do have more writing stories coming. Um, but for my writing, basically the same thing. There are journal entries and stories that I don't really feel comfortable um, putting on vocal or my social media, so I put them on Patreon. So it's kind of like top secret entries. I also have this year I took photography. I will be making a Instagram account specific specifically, I'm pretty sure I'm saying that incorrectly, but dedicated to my photography account. um I do post some photography when I go hiking, or recently I went to the Royal Botanical Gardens. I can't remember which one I went, but it was in Burlington, Ontario. It was actually really nice. I enjoyed that. If you guys want to go check that out, that's also in my Patreon account. Um, for stuff like my photography, um, that will be posted in Patreon before it gets posted in my new Instagram account, which I'm still working out the kinks to it. I actually thought of that idea earlier today, just to like dedicate one account for my photography. I'm not like the greatest photographer, but I'm always using like my iPhone for photography. I recently got a new secondhand camera that my parents were selling, so I bought it off of them, and it's actually pretty cool. I took a photography class back in college when I was in school for journalism. Um, so I'm still kind of learning the kinks of photography. It's more than just a snap a picture. It's actually really cool. So if you guys want to go check that out, the sneak peek um, before it hits Instagram. Um, I also have a YouTube channel called The Jen Show because, life is always about me. I'm a pretty princess. Well, that's what my dad tells me. That I'm a princess, so. Mm, I trying to work out vlogs. Um, I've had the Jen Show. It used to be Jen Moose. Um, I'm still kind of trying to find my way, just like I am here on It's Whatever, right? I'm still trying to find who I am, where I am on these channels. But I'm trying to work out some kind of video perspective so I can put on my Patreon as well. That would be pretty epic. Um, Also, I do have a Etsy shop. Um, I do enjoy drawing and painting. I'm not like a superstar painter or anything. I'm still learning my way around paint. So some of my paintings are on Etsy. I do post everything on my Patreon before it goes up on my Etsy shop. So you guys can go check my Etsy shop up. You can go check my Etsy shop out. Say that 10 times fast. That would be greatly appreciated. It basically just helps me um, with by supporting Patreon and in my Etsy shop. It pretty much helps support me with becoming a better creator, but not just that, it like helps me become a better me. So I have a YouTube channel called The Jen Show, an Etsy shop. It's called Jen Moose by Jen. um, I have a writing account on Vocal. I go by Jen Moose if you guys want to go check those out, and stay tuned for my Instagram. Hopefully, I'll have it up by next week when my next podcast comes out. Yeah, so, and if you guys want to get behind the scenes, go check out my Patreon. That would be awesome. But with that said, welcome to today's episode of It's Whatever, right? So, how are you guys doing? I know that we are in June now. It's officially like 6 months into this, whatever you want to call it. I wouldn't really necessarily call this a year per se, because it's kind of like a very shitty year. We have had so much go on already in 6 months of the new decade. Between the forest fires, also with the basketball player Kobe had died earlier in the year, the helicopter crash, and we have this horrible pandemic going on, which is fucking ridiculous. But I know that, yes, please, people, please, just because I live in Canada, I'm Canadian, yay, go Canada. Even though I live in Canada and our government is opening some things up, so I don't want to like be one of those like high end people, but basically just because our government or maybe your government is opening up some things, um, doesn't mean that life is going back to normal. It basically just means that we need to open up some shops so our economy does not collapse and we basically go bankrupt and we go into a depression recession like the 1920s. But the difference then is that back in the 1920s you had the wars, and back then there was the Black Plague. So they didn't have the technology that we do 100 years later. We are far more advanced, but that's still no excuse. So please, if you are going to continue, or if not continue, if you're going to start going out, please be cautious. Wash your fucking hands. Wash them. Wash. It takes you 20 seconds of your time to fucking wash your hands. So please wash your hands with soap and water. And if you don't have to go out Please don't. Please stay home and just basically just wash your hands. And if you choose to go out, you are a free person, and just remember to social distance. And just remember, I know it's nice out, but if you are gonna go for hikes, or maybe in your area, if the beach is open, if the beach is crowded, or if you're gonna go for a hike and you see the parking lot and it's packed, you can always go to another beach or just go another day. You don't necessarily need to go now. I mean, it would be nice to go to the beach. Today's really hot and beautiful, so you don't need to go to the beach today, or maybe you can go for a hike later or another day. Just be mindful of the people around you. You're not the only person on this planet. There are 7 billion people, 7 billion of us, who all want the same thing. We all finally want out of our homes. We all want to go for hikes, bike rides. In my city, we now have our local stairs. On our escarpment, like the mountain, where we can go up and down. So just be mindful. Don't be a selfish bitch. You're not the only person on the planet. We are all in this together. So wash your fucking hands, bitch. Please. Thank you. But, anyways, let's get back to today's podcast. In today's podcast, I am going to do like a book review almost kind of thing in a way. Um, I am on this thing called Goodreads. It's an app where I can track all of my books that I am currently reading, want to read, and have read. And this year, I have decided to do, like, I see people doing this all the time, and my bestie, she did this last year, and I started pretty late, and she read like so many books last year. I think she like read like 48. So this year I've also wanted to do a book challenge of 50 books. Well, like, I work a lot, so sometimes like I'm a giant book nerd. So I love, love, love to read. So I trying to get back to my old self and just read the living shit out of my brain. And I'm doing a book challenge of 50 books. And so far, I have read 33 out of 50 books this year. So I'm going to, hopefully, maybe I can do all of it in today's podcast, or maybe like I'll do a part two, maybe next week. I don't know. So I guess we'll see how much time I have to go through everything. I'm hoping to get through the 33 books that I have read today. Basically, just explaining kind of like a highlight of each book and why I had chose to read this book. And then hopefully I get to the what I would like to read, and why. So yeah. You ready? Okay. So, just let me get to the top of my list. Okay. So, I mean, I read this book so long ago. I read the book Lock Every Door by Riley. Excuse my pronunciation on some things. By Riley Sager. Um, I actually, like, most of my books are between audio and like audiobooks, and I've like physically read books as well. 'Cause like I said, I'm so busy during the day. Like, I have so many jobs and so many things to do. But Lock Every Door, I actually really, really like this book. It's basically this girl, she needs a job, and she found this apartment that she gets to be paid to live there for a while. And later on, like throughout the book, she learns that it's kind of like really disturbing. Like she's not even allowed to have visitors over. It's like really, really sketchy. And it turns out that they steal these, I'm gonna call them babysitters, like apartment babysitters, and they steal you and just to like harvest your organs for the actual residents of the building. Isn't that fucking creepy? But I still really enjoyed the book. The next book I have read is You Are Badass Every Day: How to Keep Your Motivation Strong, Your Vibe High, and Your Quest for Transformation Unstoppable. Um, it's pretty much self-explanatory. Um, yeah, it's basically basically a book to help you stay on track, like to keep motivated. So it's basically like if you are into something and you really want to, for example, my podcast channel. It's something that I want to do, and if it's actually something I wanted to, I would be keeping up with each week, each podcast. I would make an effort to keep doing it, and to which is pretty much what I'm doing. Um, the I have read a couple of series, or currently like reading a couple of series. So my next one is the PS or yeah, P.S. I Still Love You. I've read the first and second book. Yeah, To All the Boys I Loved Before is the first one, and then the second one is P.S. I Still Love You. I've read the first two books. I'm not too sure how many books are in the series, but um, yeah, it's basically call or a high school girl. She had a couple crushes and she wrote a couple love letters for herself. And her and her sister got into a fight and they got mailed out. And in the series, she got lucky and ended up hooking up. Not like hooking up, but ended up getting together with one of them. Um, I'm into witchcraft. No, not in. Yeah, I guess so. I'm into witchcraft. So I read a book called Everyday Witch, A to Z, spell book. Um, yeah, pretty much. I'm studying on witchcraft. So I had gone through the spell book and practiced some of them, obviously. And written down my favorite ones. Mostly because this book is my friend's book, so eventually I had to return it. I also read a book called How to Fix a Broken Heart by Guy Winch. It was an okay book. Can't really complain. Um, I The next book is called Fahrenheit 451. Um, I did I still finished it, but I wasn't really into it. The next one is Mark of the Plague. Um, like the Black Plague. It pretty much takes place in the time of the plague, obviously. And I have like this weird obsession. It's funny because I read this book before this plague that's going on today had gotten like a little out of control. Um, the next book I read was this book was a really really good one. Supermarket by Bobby Hall. Um, this one like I read it and it kind of caught me off guard. Um, basically, the poor guy gets like he's replaying time in his life. Some facts are true, like in his head, and then he like comes out of it and realizes like he's in a mental institution because something happened at the supermarket that kind of like made him go crazy, and he ended up being in going into a mental institution. Sorry, I'm very bad at explaining things, so bear with me. He ends up going into a mental institution in his in the book, in his book's real life, and he keeps replaying the same events over and over and over again, which is actually like creepy. You don't find that out till like later in the book. Um, the next book, um, I technically didn't start this book this year. I started it like over back in 2018, and I ended up finishing it in 2020. It's called It by Stephen King. Um, yeah, it's actually like a really, really, really good book, and I have seen the movie thousands of times, and I have seen like the reboot. I heard like there's a third chapter coming out of the reboot of it, so I'm excited to see that. I'm not sure if it's out or not, but like before quarantine or after quarantine, but it'd be like pretty. I really want to watch it. It's not like I didn't like the book. It's a pretty really like huge book. The only thing I didn't really like was that it kept on going back to the past and then the present, past, present, past, present. Um, to which I don't. The book is really really good. I just don't really like those kind of books where it keeps going back and forth from past to present. Um, the next one is Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist. There's a movie on it. I really enjoyed the movie, and I was like, well, I'm one of those people where if there's a book and a movie, I would like to do both. Watch the movie and listen to the book. Um, and same with Lord of the Flies. Again, I had seen the movie, so I wanted to read the book on it, and the book is fucking fantastic. You should read it. The next one is also a movie, Coraline. Um, I really enjoyed the book, so I would recommend that. Another one that I had seen in theaters before I read the book is called A Simple Favor. Um, I actually enjoyed the book a lot better than the movie. The other two books that I had read this year, like the Netflix special You, like you have like one season one and season two, the like really really fucking creepy one, where the boyfriend is super fucking creepy and he's a stalker. Yeah, that one. Yeah. So I had read You and Hidden Bodies. I think there's only like two books so far. And one book is one season. Well, duh, 'cause there's only two seasons. I think there's going to be a third season. I'm not too sure. I didn't really look into it. But the way that they ended season two, there seems like there's going to be a third season. So hopefully, to be honest, I'm going to compare um, the book and the Netflix special. For the first one, book one, season one, um, the Netflix special had stuck pretty good to the book. Yeah, the TV show stuck pretty good to the book. Um, but I kind of liked I never really do this. Like, it's my opinion. I usually like the book better than the movie, like, hands down. But in this case, I actually prefer the TV show over the book. Maybe because no, because it doesn't count. I read the book afterwards, like You and Hidden Bodies after I watch the TV special, and I prefer the TV special more than the books. Um, in Hidden Bodies like season 2 of You, it's like completely changed. Yeah, it sticks like to the storyline, but I prefer the TV show over um the book. I also read Everything I Never Told You. Um, the arrangement, that was pretty good. Um, and I also read Becoming by Michelle Obama. That was fantastic. It's basically um, Michelle Obama from the time she was a child to where she is today. I also read, like I said, I've read a couple series so far this year. There's this series I stole off of somebody else's kind of like book list. It's called the Hazelwood series. I read the first two, I think there's only two books, and there's like um, a 1.5 book, so it's like a side story. It's fantastic by Melissa, like the book, the series, sorry. The series, The Hazelwood, is by Melissa Albert. I would recommend that one. I also read Girl Stop Apologizing, a shame-free plan for embracing and achieving your goals. Um, just like the motivation book earlier on my list. I'm still trying to, 27, I'm still trying to find myself and where I fit in. So I'm slowly trying to learn that at 27. I also had read The Home for Unwanted Girls. And of course, I have read this book so many times, and I have to, I will never stop rereading this. It's Harry Potter by J.K. Rowling. If you haven't read it, then you need to leave my channel now. You need to read Harry Potter. Harry Potter is fucking fantastic, people. Get over yourself and fucking read the books. Never mind the movies. The movies are nicely done as well, but you're missing so much by not reading the books. Please go read the books. I have read, I've so far read reread the first Harry Potter book. I've also read Unfuck Yourself, Get Out of Your Head and Into Your Life. I also read Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. That's like the textbook that you'll find in Hogwarts Library. I've also read Eragon, the Eragon series. I've read like the first two books, and oh my god, I'm so addicted, and I can't wait to read the third book when I'm done reading the 10 current books I'm reading and listening to. I have read The Fast Metabolism Diet, Quidditch Through the Ages. That's another textbook in Hogwarts Library. And I've also started reading Chronicles of Narnia. I had read so far the first book. This next one is called After by Anna Todd. I have been reading this for about 8 months now. I just finished it. It's another series. There's a couple more books after this one as well. After. Um, yeah, that's basically all of the books I have read so far this year. 33 books in 6 months. That's actually not too fucking bad. So all of the current books I am currently reading I've been working on this one for a while. Someday Maybe by Lauren Graham. Oh my god, Lauren Graham. Have you guys watched Gilmore Girls? Yeah, she plays Lorelai Gilmore. If you haven't heard of that show, then please go watch. It's fantastic. And I have read most of her books already by Lauren Graham. It's taken me a while to read this one. I don't know why. I'm also currently reading a Book of Shadows book. Um, it's more like a textbook. Um, it's like, how do I explain? Like, you've heard of Charmed, right? Where they have like their Book of Shadows of for like their little for the Charmed ones. Well, it's basically like the same kind of concept for this book. I'm also into starting to get into tarot cards, so I'm reading Tarot Kit for Beginners. I'm also reading my obsession by now of Harry Potter. Well, I'm reading a biography by if I can speak, a biography on Maggie Smith. She plays McGonagall in Harry Potter. She also plays in Downton Abbey. Oh my god, that's a fantastic movie. Or not movie. What is a movie? It's like a reboot kind of thing. I've never seen it, but I do. Downton Abbey is a TV show. I'm also currently reading. My bestie and I, we started like this book club. And we are currently reading The Book Thief. Oh my god. We are like 3 chapters in, and oh, so far it's so sad. You guys should read it. Um, as you guys also know, I'm into sustainability. Trying to live more a sustainable life, even during quarantine and fucking coronavirus. This shit needs to clear up real fast. Excuse me. I have like the hiccups. I don't know. Um. So yeah, trying to grow. I have a garden. You guys can go check it out on my YouTube channel. Also in my Patreon, you'll see some photos. Um, my second book, oh my god, I can't talk. I'm currently also listening to Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. That's another book that I have read thousands of times. So it's funny when I'm in the car, driving to work, or just like lounging around the house, I'm, as Harry Potter is playing, I'm like literally rehearsing the book. So I was told, like, what's the point of even listening to the book or even rereading the book, because you can just like tell yourself the book without holding the book. It's kind of funny. Is it depressing? I don't think it's depressing, because Harry Potter for the fucking win. Um, as I also mentioned earlier, I'm trying to, like, I'm not a bad painter, but I'm not, like, fantastic at painting. So I have I'm reading the complete photo guide to creative painting. Um, I think it's just because my hand is really unsteady and I'm learning how to paint, a little bit better. So, yeah. Um, the books I want to read. Um, I started a series a little bit ago called A Court of Thorns and Roses. Um, I've already read the first one last year, or was it the year before? But on my want to read book list, I have the second and third Court of Thorns, and yeah, Court of Thorns and Roses. I'm gonna finish reading those 2 books, like the second and third book. Winter Girls, um, We'll Never Be Apart. The Girl on the Train. I think that's a movie, isn't it? Correct me if I'm wrong. Um, the Girl from the Well. That seems spooky. The Babysitter's Coven. Ooh. Wilder Girls. Yeah, I do apologize for my pronunciation on books and names and stuff. Um, the Best Kind of People, The Dead Girls Club. I'm reading the books that I want to read. Um, A Curse So Dark and Lonely. And there's like a 2.5 book. It's like the side story of the Hazelwood series, Tales from Hinterland. It's like a side story. I couldn't really find it on the library app. Um, as I already said, that I was started reading the Chronicles of Narnia, so I obviously want to finish that series. And I'm rereading the Harry Potter series, so obviously. And then I also started Aragon. So I still got to read the third and fourth book, and um, the Zookeeper's Wife. I think maybe she can correct me if I'm wrong. Hopefully that we get to the Zookeeper's Wife. I heard that's an amazing book. It takes place the same time as not the same place. Blah blah blah. Sorry, I can't talk today. The Zookeeper's Wife takes place around the same time as oh my god, I can't think now. The Book Thief and Anne Frank. But The Zookeeper's Wife takes place in Poland, I believe. So I'm interested to read all these books. I'm I'm so excited to finish the current books I'm reading. Um, yeah. So, yeah. Sorry, I can't talk today. Well, hopefully that you guys had enjoyed today's podcast, even though I can't speak today. For some reason I'm like so dehydrated today and my mouth is so dry. Um, but yeah, if you had made it this far into the podcast, I greatly apologize for my speech today because it fucking sucks. Um, But yeah, anyways, if that's a wrap on today's podcast, if you enjoyed, thank you for listening. And if you guys enjoyed this book, um, I will probably um, send a link down below so maybe you guys can check out my book list that I have read and want to read or currently reading. I don't know. If you guys want to check that out, um, go for it. And if you guys have any, if you're listening to this on YouTube and you guys want to share your books that you have read that are fantastic or that you're reading and you want to share down below so the rest of us can see them as well, that'd be great. Other than that, thank you for listening. Make sure that you share my podcast so everybody else can share the same experience as you, or don't. It's whatever, right? I guess it doesn't matter. Um, but yeah, so don't forget to hit the like button down below. Subscribe. Please, people, subscribe if you are new. Um, I do see the statistics, so I know that there's more people listening to my podcast than there are subscriptions. So please, please, please help a girl out. Um, we all know the struggle of the year that shall not be named. So please help a girl out and hit the subscribe button and share if you're new. Also, please go check out my stuff. I'll link it all down in the description. Also, I don't think I mentioned it earlier, but I do have a Facebook page. It's called The Jen Show because, like I said, I'm a motherfucking princess, and it's all about me. Me. So, yeah. Like I said, if you're listening to this on YouTube, feel free to comment down below of your opinion on today's podcast, or if you want to start a conversation, um, or if you guys have any tips or recommendations that you guys want to listen to in the future, that would be fantastic too. But until then, I will see you guys later. Bye.